there are different kinds of lobbies, and there's an ethnic Jewish lobby or it used to be much more unified than it is now, but it's still quite powerful. The biggest assault by a economic power, the biggest assault on academic freedom in our country's history by a wide margin, was conducted by the Jewish supremacist billionaire class. There's never been anything like it. There was, at the turn of the 20th century, the era of the robber barons. And during that era, there was the beginnings of a workers' movement, a radical workers' movement in our country. And there were a handful of professors who supported them. One was named Edward Ross at the University of Wisconsin. Another was named Robert Ely, E-L-Y, at the University of Wisconsin. A third was a fellow named Scott Nearing. And they supported in more or less dignified ways, but nonetheless supported the workers' movement against the robber barons. And the robber barons put all the pressure on the universities to kick these professors out. And that's when the whole issue of academic freedom arose in our country. It arose with the creation of what was called the AAUP, American Association of University Professors. And it was because of this external influence of the robber barons. So they emerged around 1915. Lovejoy, active in it was John Dewey, not in the AAUP, but I'm not sure if he was active in the AAUP, but he produced kind of classic statements on academic freedom. Now, obviously, during the McCarthy era, there was huge external influence. But what makes this moment unique, the William Ackman, who organized the campaign, that was, there's nothing like it in American history. They overthrew the president of Harvard. Mm-hmm. That's like unbelievable. And she was a black woman in this woke era. They unseated her. They unseated President McGill of the University of Pennsylvania. This was a Jewish supremacist. I do not believe they're Zionists. I wrote my doctoral dissertation on Zionism. I know something about the subject. They're not really Zionists. There was a famous social critic. His name was Irving Howe, of a different era. And he famously said, if you have enough money in your pocket to buy a one-way ticket to Israel and you don't, then you're not a Zionist. I think that's true. I think that's accurate. If you understand the Zionist ideology, its essence was there's no future for Jews in the quote-unquote diaspora. And so if you have it, if that's the essence of Zionism, there's no future for Jews in the diaspora, and you don't buy the one-way ticket to Israel, then you're not a Zionist. I don't believe they're Zionists. They're Jewish supremacists. Jews can do no wrong. That's it. And there's also always this pretense of being heroic, because they always want to distinguish themselves from the Jews during World War II, who, quote-unquote, did nothing for the Jews in Europe. So they want to show they're more courageous, they're braver. Basically, it's a Jewish supremacy. And Ackman, Kraft at Columbia, Sternlicht at Brown, and all the other presidents, people like Shafiq at Columbia, they were trembling. And it was very obvious what was going on. The Jewish billionaire class, the Jewish billionaire class, they were threatening to withhold the money. It was like blackmail in broad daylight. If you don't crush the encampments, you're not getting the $100 million. And we were talking about big bucks. Mm-hmm. Obviously, these universities have endowments in the tens of billions, so it may not seem, but it was money. It was money, you know. Ackman said he was going to withhold $50 million. Another fellow said he was going to withhold $100 million. I mean, these were multi-digit threats. Now you could say, oh, it's not really blackmail because they have the right not to give money. And yeah, at some technical level, that's true, but it was blackmail. The lobby was very successful. It was brutal. I mean, they were threatening the mayor of New York. They told the mayor of New York, it was widely written up in the Washington Post, if you don't stop the demonstrations, we're not going to support you in the election. It was just, it was a chisel to the kneecaps. Yeah. So there, the lobby is effective.
It's interesting. It's not an official lobby, but it is there unofficially and pretty loud.
They do call each other up. Actually, at Harvard, there was a petition taken out after Ackman. He said he's going to organize the whole Jewish alumni of Harvard. And then a petition was submitted to Harvard of about 1,200 people, 1,200 alumni saying we're not going to give money. And then the most recent stories like at Sullivan and Cromwell. They're hiring outside investigators to check on every applicant whether they participate in the encampments or any activity against the genocide, and they will not get a job. Mm-hmm. That's what Sullivan and Cromwell is doing. So at some level, it's individual initiatives, but at another level, it's a well-orchestrated campaign by a group of people. As I said, I don't believe they're Zionists, they're Jewish supremacists, in order to inflect policy.
Well,
and in ways which, as I said, are absolutely unprecedented. The idea that you toppled 2 Ivy League presidents, there's nothing even remotely comparable to it. There's nothing. I know the history. There's nothing. I mean, when I talked about Edward Ross, Robert Ely, Scott Nearing, these are like teaching assistants. A college president and women in our woke era, Claudine Gay, McGill, Shafiq at Columbia, these are all women. MIT, they were a little laid back. She was a little laid. She wasn't that at the beginning, but she cleared it out in the end. She cleared it out, the encampment.